In approaching a planet that has a solid surface, like a terrestrial world or a dwarf planet, one of the first features that stands out are the craters. So you can see here we've got Callisto. We take a look at Mercury here or Charon. We see craters. Now there's a bunch of other things that we see, and we'll take a look at those later. But I want to talk just briefly about the different kinds of craters and a little bit about what that can tell us about the surface of the planet. So first of all, we have different kinds of craters. And this would be a simple crater. So you can see it's basically just a bowl shape. And how these form, there are different kinds of craters, but we're talking about impact craters right now, is that some sort of object is going to slam into this body. So an asteroid or a comet, and actually it could be a rocket or something like that as well, that is going to excavate part of the surface of this planet. So simple crater is just going to be exactly what it sounds like. It's just a smooth bowl shape. This is a Martian crater, and later on we'll talk about what we see with these structures here on the side. But we also have complex craters. And complex craters, we see features that look a lot like mountains. And to understand what we're seeing here, it's important to think about what is going on when that object smashes into this planet. So the planet is solid, but when you have the object smashing in, that's a tremendous amount of energy, right? So it's coming in very fast, hitting it really hard. That's going to release a lot of heat. And that heat, that's going to melt the planet that it's smashing into. And as soon as it does that, we have then the ripples traveling outwards. So what we're looking at here are the frozen ripples. Have you ever seen a drop of water in slow motion as the water drops into the pool and then it kind of comes back up? Yeah, so that's what we're seeing here in the center, these central peaks. And all along the outside, we sometimes see multiple mountain regions. This would be a complex crater. And we can get into lots of different kinds of complex craters within that. But let's look at a couple of other things. Another thing that we often see is there will be rays. So this is going to depend a lot on what the size, the angle, the speed of the impactor was, and of course the surface that is impacting with. But when you have that material that smashes in, it flings material outwards. We also sometimes see secondary craters. So let's say that the impactor flings a bunch of material out. Well, some of that material is going to smash back down and create little craters of its own. And the really, really big impactors may cause several layers kind of hopscotch, right? Kind of like skipping stones almost of craters. And studying those lets us study and understand a little bit better about how those conditions were, what the angle it was coming in at, all those sorts of things. Now, lastly, the thing that I want to point out here is that we can also use craters as kind of like it's a history book. So here's another lunar crater. I see several craters. And I want you to look at it carefully for a moment and see that there's one big crater here, right? And this is a lot harder to see, but if you see it, okay, there are smaller craters inside of that larger crater, right? So we've got this one here, here, here. You can actually see lots of little craters as well. Now, if you look very carefully, you're going to see that there are craters inside of this crater. So this is going to start to give us a sense of the order that these impacts took place. The largest crater has to be the oldest that we're looking at here, because the other ones are on top of that one. And whichever the little ones are inside of this one have to be younger than this one, right? And this one has to be younger than the other one. So when we look at bodies like Callisto, for instance, this can give us a sense of, over time, how active has the solar system been? What sort of interactions did this body have with the other objects which were moving around in the early solar system?